I'm Shannon Pruitt. I'm the Global Chief Marketing Officer of Stagwell Brand Performance Network, and we are here at Sport Beach 2025 at the Cannes Lion Festival of Creativity. I am very excited to be joined today by friend and industry partner, Michael Lacorazza, who is the CMO of US Bank. Welcome, Michael.
Oh, thank you for having me, Shannon.
Thanks for joining me. Okay, so it's super exciting to have you guys here. You are really, forging new ground, especially in the financial category, and it's super fun to watch. My mom actually worked at a US Bank.
Wow.
When I was young, she was a bank teller for basically until I was 11.
That's super cool.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
It's so funny. In Medford, Oregon.
I know it well.
Do you?
I do.
Yeah. She was the one, both ends of town, actually, which is kind of wild. So anyway, I tried to run away when I was 6 and tried to run away to the US Bank to go find my mom from my grandparents. I got a block and then I went home. But anyway, you guys are doing, so, in the financial category, I'm not telling anybody anything they don't know, but just to set the scene, there's a lot of broad sponsorship, right? Badging, put your logo somewhere. But you've really seen an opportunity to go deeper in partnership. And, before we kind of set up some big things that you're doing, maybe you could just talk a little bit about the strategy and approach and why that's important for US Bank.
Yes, absolutely. So first and foremost, any investment that we have, media investment, sponsorship investment, is audience led. And so what audience profiles are we focused on? Where are we reaching? What are their passion points? The second piece is we are focusing on investing in fewer, bigger things and then going deeper with those partners on both sides of the equation to be meaningful.
Yeah.
And then the third piece is we view the sponsorship investment as a true partnership and starting with what's important to each of us.
Mm-hmm.
For example, we just announced and launched our partnership with the Premier Lacrosse League.
Yeah, it's so exciting.
We took over a year before we finalized our, codified all this and announced this.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because either one of us was a difficult partner. It was because we started with a blank sheet of paper asking each other, what's important to you?
Yeah.
How do you want to grow your business? How can we help you grow your business? And we're not only a sponsor of the Premier Lacrosse League, we're their bank.
That's amazing.
And so as they grow and expand, then we can provide advice and services and help them get to their next destination.
Yes, so there's a true value exchange, which is a different take on partnership, as it turns out, in this particular part of the world.
Yes.
So on that, PLL, congratulations.
Thank
Very
you.
exciting, year-long, hard-earned.
Right.
But what I think is also very interesting is, lacrosse was a fairly nascent sport for quite a long time. The rise of distribution and technology has enabled communities to sort of gather and rally around the sports to level them up. What what was the impetus for you to, sponsor the Premier Lacrosse League as opposed to, something else?
Yeah, so going back to my first point about the audience fit, the audiences that we're going after, that sport is just kind of right in the sweet spot for one of the areas where we want to drive growth with affluent audiences. We've been maybe a little bit underinvested in there in the past, and so we're putting some more emphasis there. The second thing is the PLL is experiencing this kind of moment in time of explosive growth. Mm-hmm. And they're ready to go to the next chapter. And just in the last 5 years, they've tripled their audience size to about 48 million fans.
Really?
Yes. And so it's a really
That's
scaled
incredible.
audience, and you have 4 million youth players across the country playing. And historically, it was a Native American invented sport, and then it existed in hotbeds like Baltimore and Long Island and upstate New York
Coast.
and Northeast. But now, it's in every high school in Colorado pretty much, and it's in Texas, and it's in Florida, and all the growth is coming in the West, where we have a very strong kind of retail distribution footprint.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing, and I think, it just even in the way we started this conversation, US Bank is really part of communities.
Yes.
Right? Banking was a very important piece of our lifestyle, right?
Yes.
And even though the way we bank has changed, the allegiance and the bank and the community sort of going hand in hand. And to that end, right, lacrosse being, like you said, this is a youth participatory sport, which looks like families, right?
Yes.
So as you were sort of evaluating this partnership, what were the specific sort of tenets that you might have been looking for that are like, okay, we know this is a rapidly growing sport, but what else sort of was also driving, that commitment and partnership?
Yeah, so it's an interesting point you made about communities, because banks are part of the fabric of the communities, and we have a bigger responsibility for the role that we play in society around economic growth and empowerment, besides just selling credit card products or checking products. And so one of the I think maybe the pivot points with the PLL was that they started with this model where they had these eight teams. They didn't have any kind of city affiliation, and it was kind of this rotating, almost like a tournament where you play 4 games in a weekend. And now they've designated teams to different geographies. So there's a California Redwoods team. Okay. We're on the Jersey patch of the California Redwoods team, which is a very important market for us. Yeah. And so it creates a more hyper-local way for us to connect with those fans.
Yeah. And are you finding, it's obviously just sort of starting. Yeah. But when you're thinking about this is a little off script, but out of curiosity, right? How are you thinking about measurement and value in terms of the partnership? Future casting. What do we hope that looks like in a year from now? If we sat back down here in a year from now, what's happening?
In a year from now, the fan base for the PLL will have grown. The media consumption will have grown. Yeah. Paul Rabel is the founder of the Premier Lacrosse League, and they have a media rights deal with ESPN, Disney, which has been growing, and I think it's about to be renewed and kind of refreshed.
It's exciting.
And it was definitely part of the calculus for us, because having the right media distribution partner for the content that can connect with the audiences is really important. And the marriage between those two organizations is really powerful.
Yeah, and creating kind of that groundswell, right? You made an interesting point. When we were sort of chatting about, your partnership and what it was going to look like. You made this really interesting point that I have actually reiterated now already this week. Socializing your content, citing my source, obviously.
Awesome.
But is the idea that social was a huge part of this, right? The communities on, Instagram and Facebook, and how that actually helps really give rise and support to, what obviously is also now a distribution deal, how social is really enabling and empowering these communities and sports, right? Cricket, lacrosse, to finally be able to create the media rights and distribution opportunities for more visibility, which allows for partnership in a new way.
Yes, and it's a great point. And even off of the official media partners who broadcast the games and stream the games, I have a son who's a lacrosse player, right? So,
awesome.
So I've been involved as a parent in that whole process. And one of the observations was just how these communities form inside of the social media channels, and they're sharing content and clips around their own play, their club play, their school play, the PLL play, great. There's learning that's happening there. There's a little bit of showing off.
Sure. All the things.
These kids are almost creating their own personal brands, and so in some ensemble, particularly for the athletes that aspire to play in college. Yeah, it's a big part of their visibility and kind of being known and being seen. Yeah, and so those social platforms become the perfect place to engage.
Yeah, also unique, right? In thinking about, because this again is sort of what I would call the nascent opportunity, which is you're starting with youth. They are families. These people, these youths, right? They won't all graduate to be in professional lacrosse players. Yes. But their affinity and loyalty to US Bank as part of their community, almost in the way that I have this nostalgia around US Bank. Yeah. Because my mom worked there, but also we just went there every week.
Yeah. Right.
To deposit your money.
Right.
That's the longer term, you're building relationships and trust and, commitment to the community in a way that is also supported by something more fun and, exciting.
Yes. And people's relationship with their money is incredibly emotional.
Right. As it turns out.
and also I think oftentimes people make the decisions of where they start at a younger age. Yeah. Right. And if we do our job well and we serve them, then that relationship can be very, very long term.
Yeah, it's so great. And I think in a world we have so much choice right? Being able to nurture these relationships and not be in a transactional relationship, but be in an actual like transformational relationship is a really unique opportunity.
Yeah.
So switching gears a little bit, right? So you have the Premier Lacrosse League, you have, you know, presumably other audience passion areas that you're kind of exploring, but what are you excited about in terms of the opportunity of like sponsorship and sort of being a part of the cultural zeitgeist? Like how is that meaningful for US Bank in the long term?
Yeah, so we are, you know, fairly deep in sports, maybe a little bit overweighted there, and so we're looking for other passion points to tap into.
Yeah.
Kind of the intersection of where people have passion and where the culture is moving.
Sure. Yeah, I mean it's and there's lots of that, right?
Yeah.
It is sort of again in a weird strength, like, and also like as a notable brand, right? You probably see a lot of things and there's lots of opportunity, but I think your commitment to the community is really special and kind of amazing. So now we're here at Sport Beach and we're at Cannes.
Yeah.
So what are you excited about? So, you know, it's Wednesday, here we are. Like, what are you excited to see next, do next? You know, we're here at Sport Beach. There's lots of athletes
Absolutely.
here and all the things.
Well, I mean, it's almost overwhelming, the choices that you have here how you spend your time. You know, first and foremost, it is the Festival of Creativity.
Yes.
So when I'm here, I dedicate some time to spend in the Palais at the award shows and walking the walls and seeing the amazing global work that's happening and the ideas, and do
you feel inspired?
I get inspiration absolutely from some of these really genius, thinking humanity that people come up with, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I kind of anchor it.
Yeah.
And then having all of our partners are here.
Yeah.
So getting those moments of time where maybe we live in different geographies day to day and it's harder to get together. We're all here, so let's make sure we connect.
Make the most of it. Yeah.
And then I would say the other aspect of it is all the serendipitous interactions that you have.
Right? I mean, the way we met Cannes last year because Michael came to my birthday dinner.
Right, uninvited.
Yeah,
right.
And here we are a year later.
Here we are, right.
But we had a great time.
Yeah.
That was a really fun party.
It was.
I'm just saying.
Really well done.
Yeah, it was fun.
And so those kinds of things always happen. I've had 3 or 4 unexpected interactions that actually connected to our business in a meaningful way this week. I can't get into details, but that's
of course.
But those are the kinds of things that happen here. And then, of course, the parties, right?
There's fun to be had.
Yeah, the kind of relationship, continuing the relationship building.
Yeah, and I think all of that works together, right? It's all one big, beautiful
it's like
opportunity.
I refer to it as it's the Davos of marketing, but way more fun.
Yeah, right. And less cold.
Right.
Well, wonderful, Michael. I really appreciate you joining me. It's been wonderful to get to know you over the last year. I'm very excited for you guys. I can't wait to watch the growth of this partnership. And for everybody else out there, please find us on YouTube and LinkedIn and follow the Premier Lacrosse League partnership with US Bank and all the great work that's coming out of US Bank. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Michael. Yeah.